Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 14 of the Spurs Review. We've tried to put on a eclectic mix of people here with very different opinions. Guys, how are we all? Kuva, you well?
Whatever. No. Doing all right considering. Got to watch a bit of football over the weekend after we got past our game.
Good. And has Pete's screen frozen for anybody else with a tango can ran down his face? Did anyone see that?
No, good for me.
That's the highlight of
Pete. Oh, Pete,
now he's frozen.
Moving like Dyer.
Yeah. Your internet connection's about as quick as Eric Dyer trying to mark a man. Sean, how you doing, buddy? You good?
Good, mate. Yeah, good. Yeah, tired after the exploits of yesterday, going to the game, and and obviously, feeling pretty depleted just in terms of what's happening with Tottenham this weekend. It's been a very difficult weekend to get, to stay positive, I guess. But yeah, I'm good. Thanks, mate.
For sure. Kuva, I'm going to start with you. Look, it's it's a difficult week, really. It all started so positively last Sunday. Hearing people talking about we're going to go on 10-game unbeaten runs now. We're going to challenge Man City.
Guilty.
We're doing that. And since then, we've had Sessegnon out 6 weeks. We'll talk about Bentancur later. Basuma's injury, Hugo Lloris's injury. And to round it all off, Kuva, would it be harsh if I said it was a absolutely disgusting performance yesterday at Leicester? What did you make of it?
I don't think you're harsh enough. I think it was just complete travesty of football. It was almost some of my friends are Leicester fans. We know Wayne Holland on the show as well, and he was watching it. He was kind of embarrassed for us, I think. Didn't want to say too much about it, but we showed so little, and anything that was happening was all based around what Leicester were doing. That it looked like every time they attacked, they were probably going to carve us open. Weren't even there half the time. Shambolic is probably the best word for that performance. Who turned up? I think, ironically, Bentancur was our best player, and that includes the time when he was injured. There was nothing else there. I think Højbjerg played sort of all right, but a bit patchy. Not really there. Well, was he? Other than that, we're talking about ratings of 4 or lower from everybody in the team. It was absolutely diabolical. But it's not the first time this season. We have seen those other games: Villa, Forest away, Man United away. They're all shocking performances too. It's getting too frequent for my liking, though.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, Pete, let me come to you. We have seen other shocking performances this year. I don't know about you. I just feel like yesterday felt different. I don't know. Yesterday just kind of felt like, I know people thought this was going to be the game which changed our season. The turning point was beating City. For me, it felt like a really negative game yesterday that was the turning point for completely different reasons, as in going downhill from there. What do you make of it?
For me, mate, that was we'd been due that iron for a long time. We got away with not getting one of them irons, so we finally got our comeuppance. I mean, anyone who thought this was going to be, we were going to win this game, where have you been for the last few years? Because it was Spurs written all over that we were going to turn up yesterday, and I probably didn't expect a Tonkin, but I thought we'd lose because you just knew it was coming.
Yeah,
especially after all the hype from last week. So, is it a sign of worse things to come? I think if you're Conte, you get out now, don't you? Before your reputation gets any more damaged with the injuries now that have stacked up. We've had last week we had a fully fit squad. Now we've got no squad.
Yeah, 7 days in football is a very long time, Pete. I'll come back to you in a bit. I mean, Sean, it was, we were playing a team that had only won 2 home games so far this season. I believe it was against 2 of the bottom 4. They pulled us apart all over the pitch. They really did make us look like a very, very poor football team, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, and I don't think it was necessary. Like I'm sure we're going to go into detail, but I've got a couple of screenshots I took from the moments, like the key passes of certain points in the game for the second goal and the third goal. like embarrassing positionally, and I think that it was a little bit set up that way. I don't know whether or not it was a deliberate thing to try from Conte to try and make the defenders step off a little bit and try and make them, if they're going to shoot from distance, which was a tactic that used to work okay when Lloris was in goal. But when you've got like an oak tree who can't get down like that quick, and look, I'll be honest, like I've got quite a lot wrong in the last week. I sort of made predictions. I thought Foster would. I was never like wishing that the situation would be as it was, but I was calling for Lloris to be dropped going into the Fulham game, and he wasn't, and I was calling out Lloris, calling out Conte for it, and based on the numeracy of mistakes he's made, and I thought when he's gone down injured, I was like, okay, well, it's terrible that I would have rather a situation where he could come in and then still have Lloris on the bench as an experiment. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, you can put Lloris back in goal. But I didn't want it to be in this situation where you've got nowhere to turn. It didn't really even cross my mind, I guess naive of me, that the size of the man means he can't get down as quick as a more nimble, slighter figure, Hugo Lloris. And when you see like Eric Dyer just like walking off, letting talented players, like they're not a great team. And you're right, like Saba, they haven't got a great home form. They've been pretty poor. A very volatile team, but they have got a lot of talent up front. And that's a bit of a hit and miss player, but when he's on, he's on. Harvey Barnes, superb. We know how good Maddison is. And they're just stepping off the way that Dyer did and the way that Davies did and Perisic. We invited trouble. We didn't need to do it that way. So off the ball, we were just horrendous. And then on the ball, there was nothing ticking at all. We'll go through it, I'm sure. But yeah, it just absolute shambles from 1 to 11.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't great. I mean,
can we really blame Forster that much when Eric Dyer is letting players shoot from the edge of the area? And I'm not
giving Foster. I'm not saying Foster's like a.
I think any keeper's going to struggle with that when you've got a defender who just lets shots go through like a sieve. None of them.
Well,
stop them. I mean, it was comical, wasn't it?
But it did expose Foster for his inability to get down. Like I think what he has to figure out is a way to like lower his center of gravity, because it takes a minute, it takes an hour for him to fall to the floor.
At that range, you talk about professional footballers striking a football that invariably from that range, when they're allowed to do that and got half an hour to pick their corner while Eric Dancer does the river dance on the edge of the box.
Yeah.
They're more than capable of doing it. It's not Sunday league. Like these know how to hit the football straight round him. It was the same every time. Time he sees it, time he's got round that big lump of Dyer, it's already halfway towards the net anyway. So I'm not saying he's great, Forster, but I think when you
do you think Lloris could have kept any of those out then?
I don't know. I've seen Hugo get beat like that many times.
Yeah, this is I just to chip in on the Forster bit, and I was going to come to him a bit later, but I do feel that is being used now as one of the reasons. For me, Forster was not the issue yesterday. There were many issues on that pitch. Of course. But for me, a goalkeeper that has had no game time, right? We're talking about a guy, he's going to be rusty, right? But I want to come to him a little bit later. Kuva, I want to look, the game yesterday for me, I'm not Conte's biggest fan anyway, but what frustrated me yet again, Kuva, was that we were 3-1 down at half time, and you're thinking, right, ring some changes. Second half, do something. You've just watched us concede 3 goals in quick time. I don't know, change it up. Get 2 different forwards on for Kulu and Son. Go to a back 4, something. And he put them out for the second half. Same personnel, same formation, and you're thinking, well, I'm thinking, he don't care. Like he just didn't. Were you surprised by that, Kuva?
No, not anymore. Used to it. It's just stubborn Conte, isn't it? Seems to be a preference for holding shape and trying to just fix what's going wrong to keep the scoreline down. Now there's no sort of devil in the substitutions. There's no really going for it and throwing everything at it and trying to turn the game around. It felt like damage limitation as soon as they came on. I'm not seeing anything to get excited about any of these points now, and substitutions are involved. With most of us as fans, with 5 minutes after half time, when you can see it's not going our way, something needs to change. I think most of us are already thinking subs. The fact Conte leaves it so long is baffling to me.
Yeah, infuriating.
Yeah, it's and especially when he's going to be changing like for like anyway. It's yeah, why not give it a go? You've already if he really feels the game's already lost, surely you might as well try and get the points. There's no point, playing for a 3-1 loss. It's better to lose, 4-5-1, and you've actually had to go at trying to get a point out of the game. It's not going to be goal difference that does top four for us. It will be points.
Yeah, I look, guys. I've said this many a time. I just don't understand this constant need to want 3 centre backs on the pitch when we don't have 3 good centre backs. It just feels absolutely crazy to me that every game you're starting 2 very bad centre backs. Yesterday 3, but normally you'd have Romero in there.
How do you go left back or right back? Like you can't. If Sessegnon's out, not that I know. I'm not suggesting that even if you had options, Conte would do it. Right. Yeah. But right now, we're in a position where we're in, I'm sure we're going to talk about all the injuries and stuff. Even if you wanted to try and help Sarr and Skip out in the next game to go and put a third man in midfield, if Sessegnon's out, Perisic cannot play as a straight left back. Maybe Ben Davies can. But Porro, I said this even before we signed Porro, I was like, the guy looks insane going forward in the Portuguese league. And I'm sure he'll get better than the debut. But you cannot play Perisic and Porro as your 2 wing backs when you've got the 3 centre backs that you've got. And if that's the case, even with 3 centre backs, how can you do it with 2 centre backs? I don't know what you do.
Listen, first and foremost, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting there going, oh my God, we've got amazing fullbacks or we've got 2 top centre backs. I just think that we've seen so much of this wing back stuff now. And it just looks, I don't know, Kuva, Pete, I just think it looks so dated and dreadful, and the problem is, I'm a huge believer that if you play 3 centre backs, you're actually causing more confusion unless they're all very good centre backs. At least if you're playing a 2, it's 2, right? It's 2 people. Romero can talk to whoever his partner is. Davis one side, even if you have to play Emerson Royal as the right back on the other side. Kuva, Pete, what do you make of it, or would you just keep plugging along with this god awful 3-4-3 that we play?
To be honest, I couldn't give a shit anymore. Just doesn't matter now, does it? You can play in this 3 centre backs is fine when you do have the likes of Bastoni, because the way he plays, he's up the other end of the pitch more than he is in his own half. He's playing as a very advanced defender. He's good at travelling out with the ball, good at passing it, and he's good at winning the tackles high up the pitch. It's a totally different sort of look to what's happening with us. With Ben Davis, you occasionally get it. He seems to drift out and occupy a sort of left midfield area at times to allow Perisic to get forward. But it looks bloody awful all the time. The very few games where we've played this season where you think, yeah, I can see where this is going now. I can see the Conte sort of system coming into play. I thought there's only been, 1 or 2 like it. There's been some heroic defensive performances at times, like against City. We look really organised then. But the moment we try and do anything else, we're just lost.
Could you play Longley? Could you play Longley at left back? He's slightly better on the ball than Davies.
I'd play Longley with Romero
in the centre.
I'd play Longley with Romero and have Davies one side.
Davies left back. Okay, but then who'd you go with right back? Emerson right back, is it?
No, you go Porro and then you get Davis not to go forward.
So you just get allow one area.
Trouble is with Longley and Davis together on the left side is anybody with a working Zimmer frame is going to outpace them.
Yeah, I mean, but you see my point, guys, right? Is we don't try anything different. It gets to 70 minutes, you're 3-1 down. It's not like we're playing a Man City or an Arsenal. We're playing a team that are very hit and miss. I think they won their first game in 8 against Villa the week before. And the way they tore us apart was embarrassing. Like I know we blame the defence, guys. And I listen, I'm not taking anything away from how bad the defence is. But even getting to the defence, they played through us so easily, from the forwards not pressing to Højbjerg and Bentancur not having the same effect when we're not sitting deep like we do against City. They look good. The moment we ask them to have the football, I just feel like those two get bypassed so easily. So for me, I feel it's really harsh when we're just talking the defence, if that makes sense. Anyone see what I'm saying?
We had the opportunity to maybe change it when we had players fit. I think now, I don't know what he does now. That's the problem. Is where do you go? You're looking at
4-2-3-1, isn't it? It's the only thing you can do.
I think you're probably right. I think you've got to put in. You've got to go or defensive 4-3-3, and then let the attackers just go all out.
You put Kane in the 10. Ask him to do a little bit more defensive capabilities. You know, Kane can adapt. I think Kane's the most intelligent player. He can
keep top of the pitch at the moment. He's our only goal scorer.
But if you play him in the 10 role and then you put Richie up in the 9,
and got on the bench, then your bench is empty. It's bad enough.
No, but then you still have Lucas Moura.
Oh, he's not fit yet, is he?
Yeah, he's back. You have Lucas Moura, and then whoever you don't pick out of Danjuma and Son. I personally would rather see Danjuma. I think Sonny has got in his head that he thinks he's got an hour on the ball every time he gets the ball. He tries hard. Like the last couple of games, he's been trying hard, getting the ball. He runs with it, and sometimes I'm like, just let it go now. But a half a second later, he's had his pocket picked. So I think that I was looking forward to seeing Porro play with Sonny. I thought he might rebalance it and give Sonny more space. And I think he's trying a bit harder than he has been, but defensively off the ball, he does nothing. And I think if you go with Danjuma on the left, Decky on the right, Kane in the 10, maybe Richarlison in the 9, you still have you still have the other one of Danjuma or Sonny plus Lucas Moura on the bench. And then I think you probably play Porro off the bench as well, who could come on and do something different, maybe in that slightly more advanced role. And I think you have to go for him
on the bench.
Well, for the time being, for the Milan game, I just think that's. I don't think you can start Porro, especially after that debut. Like, do you really want to put him in straight away again? I don't think. I think that was the worst debut I've ever seen.
He's got to learn somewhere. I think, for me, Kane in the 10 is a no. I think that'll piss him off. And bear in mind, Richarlison scored 2 goals all season.
Or do the other way around then. Do Richarlison in the 10 and Kane in the 9. I don't really care.
What about Kulu in the 10? What about Kulu in the 10?
I don't know if does he do that?
I don't know. All I'm saying is I just like to see, Alex, I'll bring you in a sec. I just like to see something, right? I mean, it just feels like Kane, Son and Kulusevski, I mean, let's be fair, other than Kane, the other two have done, I'm sorry, I'll even put Kulu in this. When did they last do anything?
Decky's been terrible since he's come back from injury. It's been awful.
But they play week in, week out. None of them are worried about being dropped. None of them at all.
Yeah, I don't even see this as being a formation and tactics issue. I think this is totally mindset now. I'll just look at the way they come out playing the game. They're not even up for winning those first challenges, winning the second challenges. It's just nothing.
I agree with that. And that's a Conte problem, isn't it? That's on Conte. You're getting paid £15 million a year, bro.
Yeah, paid to prepare the team, isn't he? So he's got to take some responsibility for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just quickly, just before I bring Alex in, there are 284 of you in the show and only 36 likes. Come on, people, stop being Daniel Levy about this. Smash those like buttons, they're free. And please subscribe to everybody you see in this show. I will put all their links up as we go throughout. Mr. Box Office, welcome. Just how bad was it yesterday, mate? And whose fault is this? Is this the players and Conte? Is this just the players? Is this Daniel Lee? Where's the fault lie for games like yesterday?
Everyone, absolutely everybody's fault from yesterday. Because let's go back, and big up to you, Sava, by the way. Big up to the real one, Sava, yeah. Big up to my man, Kuba over there, who's the most funniest guy going on YouTube, yeah. Big up to Pete, and big up to Sean, even though he's deluded. You know what I mean? It's like, as I said, I mean, what did we see? What did we see last week? What did we say last week? They were saying to us, "Oh, we're in the mud," didn't they? They said that we're in the mud, didn't they? They said that we're negative. We get cancelled, yeah, right? I was saying, you know what? We deserve that loss yesterday. We deserve that loss against a team that I was told is going downhill, Well, going downhill. Well, they beat us 4-1. They beat us 4-1. Yeah, this is not a rant FC anymore, because I've already said something on my channel already. Alex TFC, if you really want to know, you know what I mean. The Mr. Box Office Unleashed debut, Premier League debut, and there's going to be more like that on the channel as well. You know what I mean? Because being a Tottenham fan, like I said, all I've understood is being disappointed. You know what I mean? you know. And the thing is, it's like Tottenham. If you're a Tottenham fan and you're a young Tottenham fan, I feel sorry for you. But what you need to do is start looking at your history, because then you'll start realizing what a good team's all about. And I'll keep on reminding people about this, because right now, if you're telling me, because Bentancur, the reject from Juventus, yeah, no disrespect, because that was a bad injury, So I hope he does get better, yeah. Because Bentancur is out of us, is out, our season's over. That just shows you how bad this squad is, yeah. The people that were telling me, by the way, question here to all the Tottenham fans: where's Virgil van Dijk? By the way, where's Virgil van Dijk? Where is he?
I'll show you where he is. I'll show you a
Where is
picture.
he?
I'll show you a picture of where
Where
he
is
is
he?
right
I
now.
was told he was a fantastic defender. English defender, I was told. Really? Really? Another one as well. Where's Emerson? Where's Emerson Royale? Where is he? Emerson Royale? Where is he? Yeah?
Well, there you go,
Where is
Alex.
he?
There
Alex,
he is. He's just
there
about
you go.
coming back
Look at
into
that.
screen. That is this. This is if you look on the left hand side, that is the through ball, the long ball that's played into Iheanacho.
Go for shit again.
What is that? What in the actual fuck
That's not
is
really
that?
much to say there. And like I said,
Wow.
I had to have some humble pie, because I had to actually apologise to Dave, because he was the one that was telling me about Dyer. He was the one, yeah. Right? I can have my battles with him all day long, but I can admit when I'm wrong, yeah. And this guy, David, to his credit, was telling me about Dyer all day long. This guy, yeah. Right? But after he had one little good season, look what happens. And we couldn't get a Devine in the summer, in the January. We couldn't get a Skriniar in January. And that's where Daniel Levy needs to start making some answers, bro. On Conte, why the hell you've got a right wing back who can defend, you can't play him right centre back? Can you tell me? But again, Sava's absolutely spot on what he's saying at the end of the day. And that's it. I'll leave it back to Sava to make himself known like he always does. Give it back to him. There you go.
Thank you. That's an intro. Thank you. I mean, guys, look, let's talk the inevitable, right? Let's talk about what's happened in the last 24 hours. So first off was Ibasuma with the stress fracture, and everyone last week were all saying, okay, well that means Bentancur and Højbjerg need to stay fit and play every single minute of every single game, and then one game, the very next game, our best midfielder, I think he's our best midfielder, right? I don't think if anyone would complain about that, gets a nasty ACL injury and is out for a minimum of 6 months. Guys, that leaves senior central midfielders available to Tottenham Hotspur, other than the Milan game where Højbjerg is suspended, and we'll talk about that, of Oliver Skipp, Papa Sarr, and I'm using the word senior very loosely here.
That's not a bit senior about them two.
Alfie Devine, right? We have no one else available that can play central midfield. And did you know Skipp and Papa Sarr between them have got 45 appearances for Tottenham and only 17 starts? That's going to be our midfield for Milan. And then if Højbjerg gets injured, because already Højbjerg, since come back from the World Cup, has looked very leggy, hasn't looked the same player. Kuva, I mean,
you're panicking too much, mate. We've got a rock solid defence and goalkeeper behind them, so I'll wait. Oh,
but before like that accusation of like, oh, Daniel Levy's left the door open again there. Like, it's bleak, but if you were to take Arsenal and you were to take Odegaard, Xhaka and Partey out of Arsenal's midfield, doesn't it look just as bad?
Yeah,
you're comparing Arsenal.
It's an injury crisis. It's an injury crisis.
These things happen. And in the first half of the season, they happened. In the first half of the season, they happened. I know you weren't. I know you weren't, Saba. But on Twitter this morning, it's been like, oh, Daniel Levy. Thanks, Daniel Levy. Look, now we've got Sarr and Skipp. Daniel Levy. This is the chairman you've all asked for. And I just think it's, opportunistic and, it's a typical overreactionary response to things that are outside of anyone's control. And in the first half of the season, we had similar issues where we played 3 up front. We had games where we had no senior member of staff or the playing field that was even anything like an offensive role. But that wasn't because we didn't have forwards. It was because 4 of the forwards were out injured, right? Like there's periods where Richarlison, Sonny, Decky, and Lucas Moura were all out at the same time. Like, unfortunately, in a squad of 25, like, it's not Daniel Levy's fault for not signing 19 forwards and 733 midfielders just on the off chance that they all get injured at the same time. It's like I'm not saying that you guys are blaming anyone, but other people do, and I find it a little bit silly.
As I said before the stream, though, Sean, didn't see Daniel Levy get his kit on for the lads, get out there and play, did you? No, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
I think, look, this is one, as much as I do like to give Daniel Levy a bashing every now and then, this doesn't sit on him. What it does mean for us, though, is we are extremely now lightweight in there, right? I mean, it's got to be, unless any of you can come up with a different partnership against Milan, it's going to be Skip and Sarr playing together. And that worries the hell out of me, guys. I'm not going to lie. I don't rate Oliver Skip one bit. And Papa Sarr has played, 1.5 games of football for Spurs? Like, I don't think he's... I mean, how bad is this going to be if those two have to play a run of games together?
I'll go, Go on, Pete.
They would have to play a run of games together. Well, Højbjerg will be back after the Milan game, won't he? Until he gets injured. But they will have to. We have to get to grips with it. For me, I've seen suggestions Dyer going in midfield. Absolutely fucking not. Yeah, he can't. We tried to make him a defender when he couldn't be a midfielder. Now people were saying, let's make him a midfielder again. No way. Yeah, that I don't even want that fucker on the plane, let alone in the team. Yeah,
we have to do that, Pete. At some point, I mean, let me give you a scenario. Right? Let me give you a scenario. Skip or Sarr goes down injured in the first 5 minutes away at Milan. Who's playing centre mid?
Bring one of the kids on. It cannot be Eric Dyer. I'm sorry.
What else can you do though? Like,
I'd rather see a kid
you put Devine in there instead of Dyer.
I would, yeah. I'd rather lose with a kid having a go than putting that fucking muppet in there. Sorry, I just can't. Okay. I can't do it. He's got to go. I mean, we've just seen. Look at him the other day. What is he like in midfield? What, he end up on the fucking corner flag or something? Looking for people. While everyone runs past him. Milan, it's a gateway to our back 4 with him there. I mean, it might even still be like that with the other 2 there, but do
you not think Dyer did an okay job against City playing in that kind of DM role though?
What's that?
Do you not think that Dyer did a decent job stepping out of the back 3 into like a DM role against Man City?
Oh, Sean, you're digging a hole for yourself.
No, I'm asking a question again. I'm asking a question.
Sean, no.
Shush, Alex. You're asking a question.
I think Man City play a certain way that might allow you to do that, but you saw him do it yesterday, and look what happened. Yeah, he was all over it. People ran past him, and he was none the wiser. Do you know what I mean? So
there was no one behind him though to help.
Right? I want him to step. Is fucking off at the team. Fuck off. Yeah, he needs.
It's kind of technicalities, isn't it? You'd think that if we're going to play a youngster in midfield, you could put somebody like Dyer alongside him to have that experience and just help him hold the shape and know when to go, when to sit back. But Dyer doesn't do it. He doesn't do it in central defence. So, yeah,
tell someone to do what you don't know how to do.
Are we going back to? Are we really doing this right now? We're saying that Dyer should be in midfield right now.
No,
are we really doing this right now?
Alex, we're trying to figure out what we can do, mate. We're all sitting here going, we're fucked. Let's figure out what we can do.
Yeah, we're all clutching at straws again.
Okay, so what's your solution?
Alex, but the point is we're at the stage where we might have to clutch at straws.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't rate Eric Dyer. For me, the guy should have left this club 6-7 years ago when he joined, whenever it was, right? 100%. But the point is this: if we get to the stage where Sarr or Skip goes injured on Tuesday night away at the San Siro, yeah, are we really saying, "Come on, Alfie Devine, come and"? I'd rather put
Alfie Devine. I've got to be honest, because as I said before, listen.
I'm with Alex.
How the hell is Dyer going to do it when he's so slow? He's not going to get the midfield's just going to pass him like he's not even there. You know what I mean?
Milan haven't got a fast midfield. Tonali's
again,
not.
you're
Tonali's not.
digging
Tonali's
hole for
not.
yourself again.
Alex,
Honestly,
Alex,
what
it's
the
a debate,
hell
bro.
is that all about?
Yeah, but we're not-
I'm being honest, bro.
Put up a suggestion then, bro.
Basic. We're in the mud. That's what I'm saying. We're in the mud.
Yeah,
There's
we all
nothing
know
else to
we're in the
say.
mud.
We're in the mud.
It's not just about
Don't
pace.
bring me
it's about-
problems. Bring me solutions. This is what
But
the debate show's
I'm not
for.
the manager. I'm not the manager. I'm not Antonio Conte. I'm Mr. Box Office. If you don't know what you get to know, bruv. Like I said, bro. You know what I mean? I don't manage to rattle you, bruv. You know what I mean? You know, I've only done it in 2. I've only been in 2 seconds. I've rattled you already. So that's what I'm saying.
With your idiocracy. Tonali is a baller.
My
but
point
he's
is
not a
because the same
speedster.
person that came up to me and said to me, "I need to be positive after Man City, bruv." Yeah, what happened? Your team that you knocked so many times said that they're in the mud, beat us 4-1, bruv. So that's all I need to say, bruv.
Are you
If the
celebrating
solution is, if you want to listen to the master, where the apprentice needs to sit there and listen, right? Is that the fact is, yeah, right? I'd rather put a youngster in, making their effort. Yeah, I'd rather even put Kane there because he's even regressing into midfield anyway because he's doing everything.
Okay.
Right
Now
at
you're
the end of the
clutching
day.
at straws, bro. Now you're making a fool out of yourself.
Regressing in midfield, by the way.
You're
I'd rather have
putting
Kane there than
Kane in
Eric
defensive
Dyer.
midfield.
Eric Dyer, yeah, that is not Virgil van Dyer, by the way, to Tottenham fans, yeah. Virgil van Dyer, that is the most slowest defender I ever seen in my life. I'm sorry, it's a red card to be happen in that midfield. Sorry, that's it. Give it back to Sean to dig a hole for himself again. There you go.
Listen, look, guys, I'm just asking the question because look, if we were having this conversation 7 days ago, right?
Yeah, we're good, right?
Right, everyone's laughing. Oh yeah, he's silly. We're at the stage where this could be a very real reality, right? We again, we don't know. Skip and Sarr playing together in a 2-man midfield. Right? We don't know.
That's the most logical solution at the moment, though, isn't it?
We'll go
They
3-4-3.
have at least got experience of first team football.
Sure.
Sarah's looked all right when he's come in. We know Skip has done it in the past, but he's struggling for form after coming back from injury again. They've been okay. We're going to have to hope that they can step up. Now it's a big occasion and show us something that we haven't seen before. Let's see if they can actually mature in that game. It can happen. It can be the making of a player. It can also break.
100%, Coop. You're right there. You're right there.
We just got to rely on it. And if it means Alfie Devine on the bench, then so be it. That's just the way the position we're in now.
So you stick 3-4-3. So it's basically the same formation, same team.
I don't see another viable alternative. We're lacking personnel in certain positions to change it up. We don't have the natural number 10. I don't think we want to mess around with Kane dropping into a different position. I think he is our number 9. It just do what he does. He drops back naturally anyway. If we got that inexperience in the midfield, it's the likes of him and some of the other senior players around them that are just going to have to put in that extra little shift to help them out. Just don't leave them stranded there.
I just worry, mate, that the game could be you could be 4-0 down, but by the pivot in the game. And whereas if you go and just park the bus, build a brick wall, and it'll be the most uncomfortable 90 minutes ever, but you might just get home 0-0 or 1-0 down, and you're still in the tie. And then by the second leg, you've at least got Højbjerg back, and you're playing in front of the 62.
I'll tell you what I'd do. I'd go 4-4-2. Yeah, you stick Emerson, Romero, Longley, Davis. Yeah, then Perisic, Skip and Star, and then either Kulu on the right, and then Son and Kane up front. Yeah, so then both sides got protection, and we've got 2 strikers, and we can try and hit them that way.
4-4-2. I don't hate it. Don't hate it at all.
But I might be funny. For what we got available, it's probably the best formation, and it's all square pegs and round holes. Eric Dyer, I know he can go on the bench, and sit there pointing all night long. For me, I think that's our best way. Yeah, and then maybe you can even put Borrow in there. And he has got Champions League experience, and he can go up. Davies can sort of sit in, and as he goes up, he slits in to make a 3, and then you've got the 2 in front. What we got available, that's what I'd do.
Just quickly, 403 of you in the chat. Welcome to every single one of you. 403. Keep the chat nice. If you disagree with somebody's opinion, no need to call them
what
out.
I will say is, when the suggestion, if you've got a young kid, you want Eric Dyer next to him, is like if you're going on a diet and you take Gemma Collins into McDonald's, she takes him to McDonald's. It's just something you don't want to do. It's not territory you want to be in.
Hang on, Pete. As I was saying, 406 of you in the show. Please smash that like button before we worry
390,
about
380, 360.
Gemma Collins.
They're dropping
I've got a
off.
good suggestion.
Hang
I've
on,
got
hang
a really good
guys,
suggestion.
can I get through my thing? Jesus Christ. 406 of you in the chat. Please smash the like button. Please keep it nice, keep it civil. There is a super chat from George Raffis, who has said, evening, Sabat and guests. Absolutely shocking yesterday. I genuinely can't believe Dyer is a professional footballer. Big up anyway, enjoying the video. Big up to yourself. And a certain Mr. Spurs Talk Show has become a YouTube channel member. If you would like
before,
to,
I don't know why I wasn't. Sorry,
it's all right. It's all about what's happening now. Look, let's move the conversation on, guys. Right? Is there anybody out there that Spurs could go and bring in that's unattached, i.e., a free agent? Because I believe we're allowed to bring in free agents at any point, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Is there anybody out there on lists? Because I keep seeing Isco's name banded around, but for me, completely the wrong type of player. But anybody else?
Unless Daniel Levy wanted to change the habit of a lifetime, go and pay a massive fee to a club who would then make that player terminate a short-term contract, make them a free agent, and then sign them. I don't know if that's ever been done or that's even legal to do it. Do what they did to Doherty to allow him to go to Atletico Madrid, but do it outside of the transfer window. See if there's a player that's out there that is in the last 6 months of their contract that they know that they're losing, and then pay a significant. Was that? It's not. Was that? You can't do that, no.
No, because I think they have to have their registration cancelled previously. You can't sort of cancel and register someone in the same period. I don't think that.
Just listen to the way it sounds when you say it. Pay somebody to cancel his contract.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm sure Man City will have plenty to say about that. You know what I mean?
That's signing a player, isn't it?
But listen, if it's legal and no one's done it before, then maybe
we would have done it loads of times by now.
I can't believe it.
There's a genius in there.
I can't believe it. Tom Carroll's available on a free.
Tommy Carroll. I mean, guys, the reason I asked this question is something that's getting overlooked a little bit here as well is if we're going to continue to play the wing-back formation, which I'm guessing we're going to because Conte will not change for love nor money, we've now only got one left wing-back option. You've got Ryan Sessegnon, who's out. I mean, not saying he's good, but Ryan Sessegnon's out for between 6 to 8 weeks. That leaves us with Perisic, who, sorry guys, I'm going to say it, I've been massively disappointed by Perisic. I don't think he can defend. I don't actually think he's been very good joining in the attack either. I think what he does have is a wonderful corner on him. But what are we going to do if that happens? What do we do now if Perisic gets injured?
Emerson's been used Emerson's been inverted a couple of times for 20-minute spells here and there. You know, it makes a mockery of the whole Matt Doherty thing. Don't know why we forced him out of the club. We didn't need to.
I think it's because of European.
We run out of loans.
How many?
But we didn't need to loan him out in the first place. The only reason we cancelled the contract was to let him go out on loan, because we didn't want 3 or 4 wing backs. It was stupid in the first place.
Yeah, because Sean, I think because he's a foreign player, technically foreign player in the European League. I don't think he would have got into the Champions League squad anyway because we had too many foreign players. I think that was the case with him. Yeah. So he was won over. I think that's why we had to let him go.
I know. And I guess we're playing Monday morning quarterback because no one knew, 7 days ago or 8, or what is it, the 12th today? No one knew 2 weeks ago. How fortunate was Manchester United, right? Like Christian Eriksen goes down with a 3-month injury on the 28th of January and the Glaziers hustle and they can go and sign Marcel Sabitzer the next day to get it done to bring in the cover. We get through, obviously some people very unhappy with the window, some people a little bit more satisfied than others, but a week later and we have a full strength squad, and then 3 days later we're down to bare bones, in the most.
Let me ask you a question though. If this had happened with 2 days of the window to go, do we truly believe that we would have gone and acted the way Man United did with?
We would have got not to the same extent. There's no way we would have papered over the crap with such cardboard like what they've done, but we would have got something.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
Well, Manchester United lost Eriksen and they went and hustled and paid a significant loan fee to Bayern Munich to get Sabitzer in. Sabitzer is probably not a like-for-like replacement in terms of super quality, but Sabitzer is a superb footballer. And
Yeah,
so they've like somewhat cardboarded over the crack, right? They haven't used tracing paper. They've gone and got something over there that can handle it. Tottenham, I think, would have gone and done something, but the player that we would have got in would have been B-Tech version of
we
that
still
player
got the
anyway.
Gedson Fernandez's number, haven't we?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I take your point, Kuban. I hope you take mine. I think we would have done more than nothing if we lost Lloris
just loaned somebody. Yeah,
loaned somebody, and it wouldn't have been like a player that improved us. It would have been a player that just doesn't leave us quite as empty as we currently are.
I wanted to just make a
our
suggestion.
entire transfer policy, though.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make a suggestion. I know we just left on that subject of midfield, but would Tanganga be a good option in centre midfield?
No,
I'm just suggesting.
I think he's a good suggestion at another club. I'm never in a Tottenham kit.
I agree with you there.
He can't pass. He's the worst passer of the back five.
If you really want to have some fun, go with Emerson Royale as midfield destroyer.
That's a good shout. That's a very good shout. To be honest,
I don't know. Perisic's a utility player. Couldn't Pep? Well, then you've got no one at left back. But
I just can't see him having the legs to play centre midfield. He looks shot when he's got to track back on the left wing back. But just quickly, lots of people are saying, "Oh well, we've got Harvey White." We don't. Harvey White is on loan at Derby County, so hence why I didn't mention his name earlier.
Can we recall any of the loans? Does anyone know what the loan terms were regarding Winks or any of them?
No.
Well, we can't get any of them back, or you don't know the terms.
From what I'm gathered, we can't get any of them back.
My understanding is that you can, during whilst the window's open, you can recall players. I might be wrong there.
You've got to pay a fee, I think. I think they deliberately put it in the contract so they can't come back this season.
Yeah, it put in the contract, but there's sometimes you can put in that there is a recall.
I get a feeling that only works on loans if there's no loan fee involved. Something like that. That would make sense to me, because it's like then you're loaning a player out, giving the other club a favour, and they're just playing them for the experience of the player.
Okay.
But I mean, if you're
maybe you could get Harvey White back from Derby. Then I doubt Derby paid because Derby haven't got any money. So I doubt they gave us any money for Harvey White. But
yeah, it's desperate times, right? I mean, Perchy, big up to yourself in the chat, sent through, didn't you, on our WhatsApp group, and it was these options. Where are we? Here we are. So these were the options that we've got. So got no Bentancur available, no Basuma available, no Winks available, no Lo Celso, no Ndombele, no White. So after Devine, it then starts looking at Craig, Robson, Niall John, and Santiago. This is a very real, for me, that's a crisis right there. I mean, I'm shit scared of just having Skip and Sarr in there, if I'm honest. I feel like there's a lot of hype around Skip that I won't have this conversation again, but that I don't think is warranted. And Sarr has played a game and a half, 2 games worth of football. Yeah,
we're fucked. We're fucked. We absolutely
whatever it is. The problem has to be fixed from within. We're not going to get anything outside the club to deal with it. So we either change shape or we put faith in these players and see what they can do. That's where we're at. We can't do anything about it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. Okay. So with that, is anyone confident now of getting past AC Milan on Tuesday night?
I think we could. I think there's a scenario where if Conte's smart, for me personally, I think you have to park the bus. I think you have to set up and go, look, it is what it is. You've got Højbjerg coming back for the West Ham game, but this game is it's a nightmare. But for me, I don't agree with Pete that you go for it. I think you batten down the hatches and try and hang on.
Go for it. I said that's just what we can do. That's the best shape we got with what we got available.
Yeah, for me personally, I think we should play. We should just go there and essentially just try and hang on for dear life for 90 minutes. Because if you can get away 0-0 or even 1-0 down, you still got a chance in the second leg. But if you go there and you do anything like play the way we did against Leicester, where the shape and the positions are all over the place, you could be 3-4-0 down by the turn of the leg, and then it's just the second leg is irrelevant. But at the same time, I also think that when you look at the squad and the length of time of these injuries, like even if you get past Milan, like you ain't going to get past the next group, right? Whoever that is, if it's PSG or City or whoever you get in the quarterfinals, you're going to get embarrassed, right? So for me, I think you have to kind of shake hands with the reality of the situation and probably prioritize and go for what's left to go for, which has an easier path to something to salvage the season. That for me is the FA Cup now has to be the absolute priority. Because I think the top 4 races, there's no chance we're going to be able, like, even if Sarr and Skip have a couple of great performances together, are they really going to rally and rise up and be able to sustain that for the next, whatever it is, 13, 14 games, 15 games? Like, it's not going to happen, is it? Right. So I think look, it is. I think that's bleak. It's really bleak.
It is what it is, right? It's no one's fault. It is what it is. That's what's happening. But I mean, it does just feel like nothing seems to stay good at this club for very long. You know, like the kind of high that people were on Kuva from the Man City win seems that it's literally like God's looking down and gone, yeah, let's wipe those smiles off the face. And then a week later, we're like, oh my God, have we got to recall Harry Winks? Do you know what I mean?
There's the lesson, isn't it? No matter what, do not bet on Spurs. Whether it's win or lose, just do not bet. Because we can do those sort of results against City and then follow it up with a result against Leicester. Of course we can. We do it all the time. What are we going to get? That's what I'll say. I'm not going to say it's necessarily disaster with Mato Sarr and Skip. It might work out. It might. But we are clutching at straws.
But everyone should collectively lower their expectations. And then if we surprise to the upside, everyone can be delirious. But if you keep your expectations somewhere where they have been, then you're going to be incredibly unhappy, I think, more than likely. Right? The probability suggests best thing to do is to drop them right down. And like someone just said in the comments, at least we've got enough points to just about save off relegation.
We're not
the problem is though, Sean,
when in the ground at the end of the season.
I think the problem is though, Sean. Sorry to interrupt you, Kuva. Is that the fact is we've got Antonio Conte. That's the problem. When you've got Antonio Conte and you're saying that you need to lower expectations, it don't really make sense. It don't really make sense. And then you've got a man that is used to winning championships, whether we don't rate him or not. He's won championships wherever he's gone.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that he's going to be satisfied with that.
Well, he told everyone to lower their expectations.
For me, at the moment, if that's happening at Tottenham, you just watch a car crash with Antonio Conte and his attitude with the squad at the moment. You know what I mean? You've already seen what he's done with Jed Spence. You've already seen what's happened with Jed Spence. Yeah? He didn't rate him. He's out the door. You know what I mean? Like
I hear you, mate. I hear you. I think he's the wrong guy.
I'm not. And to be honest with you, yes, I did come for you, Sean. But sometimes you need to get taught a lesson by Mr. Box Office, yeah. But
I don't think I've ever been taught.
My point is the point about Dyer being in that midfield. That is a good point because I think he'll do that. I think he will do that because he don't believe in the young players at the moment, like Alfie Devine. Even though
sorry. So the thing that you were teaching me a lesson for 20 minutes ago, you're now saying is a good point.
Well, I love rattling you anyway, so it don't really matter. Anyway, moving on.
Listen, I think what you're saying, Alex, is right. We've got Conte, and who's the most inflexible manager when we need to be now the most flexible we can be with what we got. Sticking with what he's trying and tested ain't going to work. He needs to get creative now to solve these problems because they ain't going anywhere and we can't do nothing about it. And whatever he does on Tuesday, he's sort of got to be hopeful. He's got to find a template now to play the rest of the season with because this is what he's got.
It's a time for fans to just take up a religion if you haven't got one really.
Learn how to bend over.
Need something.
There's a couple of cults you can join. There's a couple of cults you can join in the community if you fancy it.
Whatever it takes to get through this season.
Guys, could it be? Look, let's try and look a little bit more positive. Could this galvanise everyone together? You know that whole kind of look. We're all in this together. We're down to the bare bones. let's go out there and show people what we're made of. Is there any chance of about Pete straight away going, no. Why not, Pete? Why couldn't we see Skip and Sarr flourish, a whole new look to us, and everything's fine?
Because we'll still be arguing as fans. This is still Levy's fault, or some of us, Conte needs to do a bit more here. There ain't these issues that are the real issues at the club at the moment are not going anywhere. I don't think I think the fans will. If there's young players playing, I think the fans will give them a break, and they will encourage them, no doubt about it. I think if we start seeing Eric Dyer in midfield and all that, I think it just add more fuel to the fire to split amongst the fans.
Anyone else see it any differently? Kuva, can you put any positivity there? Could it galvanise us at all?
Yeah, it could do. I mean, it did last season, didn't it? We were really struggling to grab fourth place. We had injury problems then as well. Managed to get our way through it somehow. So it can work. Do I see any sign of that at the moment? No, not really. I don't see the effort going in that Leicester game. That was just horrendous.
Yeah.
At least when you get the effort going in, you get a narrow loss or something, you can say fair enough. Few people missing, couldn't do the same job as usual, but that was just hopeless. That was like such basic stuff. Eric Dyer was on absolute walkabout through that game. It's just unbelievable to watch some of this, what's going on. So I don't know. Can you recover from that? Is that a sign that we're going to galvanise and get something out of the season? Not for me. That's just showing something that we've shown far too often this season. Really bad performance and a really bad result to go with it. Getting used to it now. I don't feel any sort of there's no sense of resilience. There's no sense of fight in the team. It's really missing basic characteristics that you demand from your team, and we're just not getting it. Shortchanged. Anybody going to paying to go to these sorts of matches, you deserve way better than that.
Just quickly, a lot of people are saying that the stream is buffering. I've not got any issues my end with my internet, so I can only imagine that it's YouTube playing up. So apologies if it does buffer. I'm sure it will come back in a second. Guys, what Kuva just said there was bang on, but does this look like a group? I know this is going to sound weird because after what happened with Man City last week, but for me, that performance looked like a performance for players that weren't playing for a manager in any way, shape or form. It looked absolutely flat. Everything was flat. And I know we just concentrate on the back three and we're talking about Dyer a lot. I thought the forwards were all forwards well. I thought Kulusevski and Son were, again, I don't see that they've not done anything, but we never call them out for it. I feel like these players are being protected. Sean, what do you make of it? Have they stopped playing for Conte?
Do you know, there was moments, right? There was a couple of moments. You may or may not have seen it on the game if you're watching on telly, but when there was 2 or 3 injuries that were happening during the game, and 2 or 3 moments where there were like pauses. Like, it wasn't just for VAR, but there were pauses during the game, and we were in dire straits. The Tottenham players we were down in the game. All of them were just standing around, hands on hips. There was nobody. They were all looking at the floor. Like, I remember seeing Decky kind of do that, like a little foot drag along the floor. Like, they were all bored. There was absolutely no effort or interest in any of them getting together. There was no leader on the pitch, bellowing to any of them. There was none of that kind of team spirit, enthusiasm, infectiousness that you look for from teams that are in the mood or that are trying to get something back in a game. It just looked so flat from the get-go. The first 10 minutes, I see a lot of people saying we had the upper hand for the first 10 minutes. From what I was seeing, I know we got the goal, but it was end-to-end stuff. And no, it was just, I don't think that Tottenham were up in the first 10 minutes. I think that both teams were playing badly in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then from that point on, as soon as they scored and then they took the lead, or as soon as they equalised and then took the lead, Tottenham's heads just dropped. Conte showed us nothing from the sidelines. I remember there was a free kick in the 65th minute, and it was bearing in mind, I know this guy's done a good job, Gianni Villa, or whatever his name is, right? But he's employed by the club to coach set pieces and not to coach both ends, just the offensive set pieces. We had a free kick, and it was about 5 yards outside, like the corner, the apex of the penalty area. And you had Decky waiting on the right touchline. You had Højbjerg and Sarr over the ball, I think it was, and a couple of people in the box. The referee was sorting something out, and Højbjerg went to take it, stopped, turned around, looked at Sarr, went to take it again, stopped, and then passed it out to Decky, and he got intercepted in like immediately. It looked like they haven't got a fucking clue what they were doing.
Yeah.
At that point in the game, the entire the communication had broken down. There was no passion from the start, but there was no communication throughout the struggle. And for me, the problems are wider spread. Obviously, we've got the main problems now with the team selection and the availability, but there's something else that is going on with regard their whatever it is, like what makes the sum greater than the parts or less than the parts, whatever that X factor is. That camaraderie, it wasn't there in the game. It was there against City, but it wasn't there yesterday, and it's really worrying and disappointing. Also, last thing I'd say, sorry, I did this thing else I wanted to say. At the end of the game, a lot of the Tottenham fans were still there until the 90th minute. Harry Kane walked over and made it to about the penalty area, and then the penalty area as an ish. He did that. Sonny got about to the halfway line. Everybody else just walked straight down the tunnel. Disrespectful to the fans, but the entire kind of vibe was just so poor. As I say, I think there's something wrong.
It's interesting, Alex. I'll come to you in a second. I just want to ask you, Pete. I mean, look, I know this kind of feels like it's a bit strange because of the performance we put on last week, but you know, we've done that before against Man City. We've now lost 3 of our last 5 Premier League games. Let's be really, really honest. We're not in any sort of form at all. We're starting to see performances like yesterday, I would say creeping, but I don't think they're even creeping anymore. I'm expecting performances like that more often than not. And we're getting that. Direct question. Is this going to be a consequence of Conte's contract not being finalised for next season or not? Do you think there's going to be a bit of this within the club affecting the players?
Possibly. I think everyone knows what's going to happen. I think everyone at the club, players, Conte, leave it, are just waiting for the right time to do it, which is even going and Poch comes in. It's so obvious. It's not even fun. I mean, the City. Let's go back to the City game. Those City games are the exception; they're not the rule. Yeah.
Yeah.
The rule was performance. What we saw at Leicester. We got what we finally deserved for playing like that. Yeah, we got taken apart properly. Yeah, a lot of teams have done it to us, but can't score. These lot can score goals. Bear in mind they put 4 past Villa last week, and they've just done the exact same thing again. Mm-hmm. So that is well overdue. That result. It was the result that matched the performance before. We've been getting away with it for a half, and all that was 60 minutes. Not yesterday. I think that will get worse as well. I just think the whole club's going through the motions, isn't it? It's like we're like,
it's tough. It's tough.
What we do? I mean, if you're looking at it now, if you're Daniel Levy looking in, you think, right, if that is his ace to play, then play it now more than ever, because I think you might get a lift out. Kane might start. Kane might perk up if Poch walks through the door. I'm not saying I want Poch, but I'm saying let's take the emotion out of it. We all know it's going to happen. Son might perk up, and then your two sort of goal scorers are now sort of on a bit more positive and up for it. And then who knows what happens? It might affect other players as well. I don't know.
I think if we had some clarity amongst the players of what's happening in the future, the fans would know it by now. They would be talking about it. It would filter its way out, and people would be hearing about, oh yeah, Conte is signing a new contract or something like that. I think the players are much in the dark as the fans are on most of this. So, of course, there's going to be uncertainty, and it will translate onto the pitch. Always does. It has to. If you don't know your manager's going to be there the next season, and you don't even know you're going to be secured a playing time because you thought you're signing for Conte, or perhaps you thought you were signing for another manager coming up, and then Conte does stay. It works both ways. Uncertainty is always a bad thing at a club.
Yeah,
sorry, Sav. Just on top of that is when you think about the amount of transition this club's gone through the past 4 years, it's no surprise the players sort of stick as a group and sort at them, and then whatever else happens around them because they've been the constant in the past few years, or a lot of them, not so many now. But also going back to Conte, if people saying is he going to stay or is he going? He ain't even giving press conferences at the moment. He's not even doing interviews. He's not even doing any media. It's like the club don't want him to talk. Where's he gone? And this is before his gallbladder. It's always this Stellini they've rolled out. Press conferences, pre-match conferences, post-match conferences, any interview. Where's Conte? Conte don't even talk at the moment. What's going on there?
One thing, Alex, let me bring you in here. I mean, for me, it's not just Conte. Nothing looks right about it. I'm not saying because he's been ill the last couple of weeks, but nothing has looked right about Conte for months. For me, it just kind of feels like we put out what we do every week the same, and then we don't really care. That's the vibe I get. And what I mean by that is when you look at yesterday, yeah, our defenders are bad, and yeah, they make individual mistakes. But let's not pretend we were in the game without those mistakes. Let's not pretend that the other end we were having loads of chances and we were actually trying to play some sort of football. We literally don't seem to do anything on the pitch, Alex. Am I being harsh? Or because I'm watching the game going, well, this is crap. Every week I'm like, it's just crap.
I have to say this, because I've put an example out, like if you're in a job, right, that you don't really like, yeah? You just do it and you're not really, your performances are okay-ish. You go to your manager and he says, yeah, it was okay. You got the result. It's okay. That was Tottenham against Man City because tactically it was a good performance. Performance-wise, aesthetically, because I was there at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Mr. Box Office making himself proud and loud to the Tottenham fan base. I was watching it. I said, it was okay. It wasn't great. It got the result because of tactically we're really, really good. So you fast forward to this week, and when I saw what I saw on the TV, and to be fair to Sean, he was there, so you'll know more than me because he'll see a lot more than what I see on TV. You all recognise that when you're not there, you're not going to see everything.
Yeah.
But when I saw what I saw with Kulu, Kane, Son, the attacking prowess as well. It looked like a team that has got no identity, like I said before. I'm not going to speak about Conte because I've already given you a prediction. It's not a prediction. I've already given you a spoiler already. He's not going to be here next season. I told you already. Yeah. So I'm not repeating that. But looking at that team at the moment, it just looks like a team that players need to leave to win trophies somewhere else, and looks like a team that needs to be refreshed, and that's it. And go in a different direction. So that's what scares me at the moment, because I'm saying this in February. And how long have we got in the season right now? We've got till May. Don't need to say anymore. I'll give it back to you, Sav, if I answer the question.
I mean, yeah. I mean, Sean, is it? I know this sounds strange because we are only a few points off top four, etc., and in the Champions League and still in the FA Cup. But from what we're seeing here, is there any way back for Conte next season? Is there any way at all that we see this man putting pen to paper in the summer and continuing when he's seeing what, you know, well, first of all, what we're seeing from him, I think is crap, by the way, but also what he's seeing, the way the club acts. Is there any way that you think that he might be here next year? You're on mute.
Sorry, mate. I didn't realise you were talking to me.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't. I was talking to Sean.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's oil and water, mate. I think that, you know, the ownership clearly wants to prioritise, you know, finding players that are affordable in line with their sustainability models and looking to prioritise youth. He's not a player. He's not a manager that's ever really done too much in that regard or wanted to kind of be a part of that thing. I think, you know, with reflection, I think Conte was a knee-jerk reaction. The fans were going crazy. I acknowledge that Daniel Levy doesn't like bad publicity, doesn't like bad press. When Nuno went tits up very quickly, he panicked, had a conversation with Conte, paid him an extortionate amount of money. Whatever else happened with regards promises broken or kept, we'll never know. But I think that right now, I think it's a fait accompli. I think the only way it could have been salvaged is a situation where Tottenham did go on and win a trophy, did go on and qualify for the top four. You know, that's basically what we were going to do. We were never going to really compete for the league this year. And then maybe, just maybe, if all of the finances were ticking in, and we won't know about the finances for like right now until obviously this time next year. But I think all of those things could have worked out. But I think with the situation as it's panned out, and I think you have, if you're honest and reality, you know, and just looking at reality and saying, well, with all the injuries we've now got and no chance to resolve anything, the likelihood is that we're going to have a couple of games where we, you know, turn it on and get lucky, and the young kids, you know, put together some sort of performance and get 3 points here, but we'll drop more points than we don't. I think it's going to be a disappointing finish to the season, and I think the natural reaction of people like Conte and people like, you know, the general fans, whatever, is going to be fairly negative. I don't think he'll want to be a part of that next season. So I don't see any real other scenario outside of an absolute miracle where everything just like the young players just, you know, somehow figure it out super quick. But I don't think he's the manager that's going to be able to nurture them anyway over the next 4 months. So for me, I think we're just treading water until, you know, the inevitable happens. And on that basis, look, Daniel Levy sacked Nuno and had to pay out. Nuno was getting paid $5 million a year, and he got 6 months into a 4-year or 3.5-year contract. So he was happy to pay off 18 million quid to Nuno. He was happy to pay off 28 million quid to Pochettino. I'm sure he paid off something similar to Mourinho as well, right? He's probably paid off 55, 60 million quid in, maybe I'm exaggerating that number, but whatever, an extortionate amount of money to failed managerial conquests. If we are literally treading water until the summer, then I don't think it makes sense to say that the only reason we're doing that is because he wants to save the 3 or 4 million quid that is going to be left on the contract. If, like, Daniel Levy apparently was at the training ground today. Why? Is there conversations that are happening? If we are where we are, if the only way forward is to try and get the youth going through the rest of the season, is Conte the right guy? Maybe, just maybe, there's things that are going to happen soon, and maybe Conte might depart before the end of the season. I'm speculating. Maybe I'm throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but, you know, maybe if we can salvage the season, it's going to take somebody that can nurture the young players and get the most out of them, and try and get the right juice from the squeeze. But I don't see, to answer your question directly, I don't see any future with Conte in it for the long term.
Just before, Cooper, I'm going to come to you quickly. Just before I do, got a couple of super chats that I want to read out. First of all, Tin Man 007, good to see you, mate. Hope you are well. Just said, considering the news on Bentancur, would you recall any of the free loan players, Ndombele, Celso, or Winks, or go with what we've got? I don't think it's about whether we would. I think we covered this earlier, Tin Man. I don't think we can. But I also wouldn't want to see Ndombele in a midfield too. I feel like he looked tired when he played in the midfield 3 after 5 minutes, let alone doing all that work for Conte. So, anyone want to add to that? If you could have loaned them back, guys, Who would you be bringing back? Who would be your choice to bring back out of these three worldies?
If it had to be one of these three, I'd go for Lo Celso, but don't want any.
I'd rather have Reggie.
What, to play centre mid?
I'll play centre mid. Sorry, I thought it was
Yeah.
just Aloni. Yeah, sorry. Go on, Pete. Sorry, mate.
None of them. I think it's going back to things like that. That's in the same boat as putting Eric Dyer in midfield.
You really didn't like that suggestion, did you?
Mate, that's really pissed me off. I'm not gonna. That's ruined my weekend more than a result. Do you know what I mean?
Brilliant. Alex, who would, if I had to push you for one name out of those three to come back?
If I was really taking the mick, I'll say Harry Weeks, but no, I can't even say his name. I can't even say his name.
I thought you liked Harry Winks.
David's not here though, so
you always backed Harry Winks last season. You always given him.
I did, and I'll take it back now. Lo Celso.
Okay,
yeah.
He seems to be the popular choice. And then Brett Spurs has said, "Thank you for super chat." Has said, "Bring in someone like Carrick, start a new project." I mean, listen, I'm of the opinion that once Conte goes, and you've tried it with Conte, you've tried it with Jose, may as well bring in a manager like that. May as well do it. He's working wonders with Middlesbrough, and once this latest project hasn't worked, I just don't care anymore. So, hey, good shout. Let's see what he does.
I don't think the project should be starting with the manager. I think it's got to start at a higher level. The manager's one of the last pieces put in place.
Yeah, but if Conte walks, then that's going to be the first thing we've got to do in the summer, right? Is hire a manager to
decide what we're doing. Have a plan, mate. We keep talking about it.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Guys, we all know how this ends. If Conte walks in the summer, we all know that we will get the next managerial appointment very, very wrong. You know we will. You know it will be someone that, somebody that doesn't fit with a DNA. It will be somebody that none of the fans really want. You just know it, don't you? Aren't we? We're just quite predictable that way, aren't we, as a club?
Yeah. But I think that Tottenham, if they do go in a different direction, whenever that happens, I think that they need to. I 100% have always agree with people that say if you're going to criticize Daniel Levy for many things, one of the things where I 100% agree is the flip flop of the managerial philosophy. And when he said that after whoever it was, after Nuno, he said we're going to get back to playing, or before Nuno, we're going to get back to playing attractive football and all that stuff, and then went and hired a defensive manager. I feel like one of the major areas where I 100% acknowledge that he's messed up 100 times over is the flip flopping philosophy of management. And I'd even go as far as to say flip flop in the ability when you buy players that are on 5-6 year contracts. There's certain areas of the team that have specific roles, and if you're playing like I said it before, playing with a back three is different to a back two. Wing backs are different to fullbacks. And to me, I think that whoever the next manager is, it has to be a shift into a permanent philosophy. Whoever that is, I don't care whether it's a failure as a manager, but it has to be the first stepping stone that is a consistent pathway towards a certain style of football. And if that does mess up, whoever that next guy is, even if there's a brilliant, top class name manager that's available, but who happens to play a different system, you don't choose him. You choose the next tier down who happens to play the same style of football, because that allows you to make, better decisions with your finances around better player acquisition and retention, all those things. It makes everything else a little bit less complicated around the square pegs, round holes thing. So wherever we go, it probably will be a failure, but make sure it's a failure in the right direction.
Yeah, do you know what? I mean, Kuva, we've talked about this loads. It is, isn't it? It's having that ethos. And Sean's bang on there. Whatever we do in the summer, I'm just going to assume now Conte's not here. Out of two reasons. One, the fact that it's not been signed. And two, I don't want him here. I mean, I can't be more blunt than that. It's got to be an ethos, right? It's got to be something that they say, okay, for the next 20 years, 25 years, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to try and create. Question for you is, can they do that when Paratici's still in the building? If it's not akin to his philosophy versus what we want a club philosophy to do, how do we ever get that? How do we get on the same track as that?
Well, we've talked about this before. It's the Ajax setup. It's what they've done at Barcelona. It's what Man City are doing now. Other clubs are doing it. You get in those footballing people as the committee to make the footballing decisions. That's management appointment, director of football, all the coaching staff, the scouting network. You get the people in that understand the ethos of the club, the history of the club. When we're talking about DNA, it is the history of the club. There's no other way around that. That is who you are. It's your identity. Otherwise, it's just putting on a white shirt and calling yourself the Whites again. Well, won't even go into that. But it's having that overall outlook on how you want the game to be played, how you want to entertain fans, how you want to be associated, have the name associated with a style of football and something that's pleasing on the eye and easy to get behind. I don't buy into what's happened at Chelsea and City. Well, City's all right with Pep, but I don't like the idea of just throw money at it and just take anything that pumps you towards getting success. I want to have a club I enjoy watching. At the moment, I don't. I did under Pochettino for a while, but that was allowed to fall to the wayside. Redknapp could do it as well. But again, it's back to that consistency bit and direction. Unless it's consistent right the way through. And we are talking very long-term project. This is not just something you fix with just a managerial appointment. It is getting that committee in. It is having that core of people that set out the future direction of the club. You get in ex-players. That's the only way to do it. People who understand everything the club's been through. So we're talking the Glenn Hoddles, the Graham Robertses, the Ledley Kings, people that won things and know about the style and history of the club. That's what you've got to have. It can't be this corporate entity that it seems to be now, because we don't associate with it. I've got no sort of connection with the club at the moment. If I saw some ex-players coming in and we said, this is what we're doing, this is the 20-year plan, this is how we're going to be building the academy and keep supplying players to the first team who are going to be playing this style of football, I could be behind that. If they said it took 5-10 years to do, I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is just carrying on as we currently are and guessing who the next manager is going to be and guessing what our style of play will be or what our plan is, what our ambition is, and knowing none of it.
Can I ask then, is there anyone on this panel? Actually, just before I do that, please smash the like button. There's 455 of you, only 162 likes, and please subscribe to everyone in here. Please, if you'd be so kind, subscribe to my channel. I'm hunting down the 3,500, so that would be much appreciated. Get over to Sean. He's just gone past the 5K mark. Get over to Alex THFC and also to the Free Spurs boys, Couv and the Kang. So please be generous. We're all Tottenham together. Is there any managers that tickle any of your fancy? And is there anyone here that does want to see Conte here next year? Obviously, I just assume because I don't that everyone else doesn't. But is there anyone here that would like to see him here next year?
No.
I mean, if he wants to be here, and he starts to make better decisions and play better football, and he can adapt and mold and become a 2023 manager that can pivot and not rest on his laurels like he always had the ability to do when he's been in charge of a better team with a better squad. With that whole kind of attitude of like, if we just execute our game plan, we'll win, like the best teams can do. If he can adapt and all those things, then I'm sure I don't mind him hanging around, but I don't think that he's going to do any of those things. So, not really.
Yeah, Pete, isn't that the worry? I mean, it is literally Conte's way or the highway, right? And I know people always say, "Oh, well, that's the same with people like Pep," and it's not. You see Pep experiment all the time with everything that he does. So, isn't that the worry, Pete? That even if he's back, it's literally going to be this just one formation, this one way of playing, no matter who we're playing against, until the day he stops being a manager.
Yes. I mean, even if you furnish him with £400 million worth of players, which is what he needs to get his system working, it's still not good football to watch. It's just effective football. And how long are we going to put up with that? because there's no guarantee you're going to win anything either with it. People think Conte guarantees trophies. He might have done before, but now in the Premier League, it's not the case.
Yeah.
So for me, and I think we're giving too much, giving no credit, too much credit to think the club, the owners are even thinking about a philosophy. I think I watched that documentary or that thing this morning earlier with that Daniel Levy building an home thing on the sport, and you heard it from his mouth. There's a lot of things coming for the next 12 to 14 months. So that's where their focus is. That's all they're going to worry about is that. Yeah. So it will just be, what can I do to bring in to manage the football side? There's going to be no sort of reset or think about what we're going to do moving forward. I think Levy will think, I cocked up getting rid of Poch. I'll get him back in because he's the easy one. I'll have the fans on board. The fans will all be getting excited again.
100%.
And that is my get out of jail free card. And
do you hate that though? Do you hate that?
At the moment, I'll take it. I'm not going to lie. It's not what I think it should be. Let's put it this way: a serious owner with a real plan doesn't go down that route again. Listen, I've got nothing wrong against Poch coming back to the club. I think it's probably too soon, but
going back to your ex-Spurs sort of thing.
Yeah, I think where we are now, he's had one job since he left us. Do you know what I mean? I think if he was to come back a bit more seasoned, then potentially. But we are where we are, and you look at what's out there, and there's no standout candidate. I mean, people are knocking Carrick and company and all that. For me, it's far too early for people like that.
What about one of the guys like the Silva from Fulham, Frank from Brentford,
Deserby? Silva's been in the league. Yeah, Deserby, but there's no point in getting a Deserby if you don't get the whole network that operates behind him at Brighton. Because we've done that before. Pluck a manager and think that he's going to do what he does at one club in our club when we don't have not as many good technical players.
Wasn't Deserby at Sassuolo before and did a good job there? Was that where he was before then?
I don't know too much about him before, to be honest. You might know more than I do. But what I'm saying is, it's
might
quite
be wrong.
often
I thought he was at Sassuolo, but maybe I'm wrong.
Take that manager, and whatever he did at that club, he'll do at our club. And reality is, there's a whole structure and team behind it that made that happen. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah, that to me is I 100% agree with you, mate. Like, to me, the biggest problem at Tottenham Hotspur, well, there's two biggest problems at Tottenham. It's not how much we spend, it's where we spend it, and also who's responsible for that. I know everyone wants to, just simplify the argument and say the buck stops at the top. But if you want to have a sensible conversation, we should be investigating who are the people that are in charge of the scouts, who hires them, what is their remit, how many names do they put in front of people like Paratici every week or month or year? Like, is there a guy in South America who just goes around watching 18-year-olds play football in Argentina? If so, how many of them are doing it? Like, what does that whole thing look like? Because there's other teams out there that can identify players year in, year out, week in, week out, that they got the next player coming in. Look at Brighton, to your point, Pete. They sell Cucurella, they sell Bissouma, they sell Trossard, and within 6 weeks, the next crop are already emerging. Like, it's like they're harvesting, like they're pruning the flowers, and the next one, because they know that the next ones are coming up. Why can't Tottenham do that? I
agree with you, Sean, with that. But what I think we've got to be very careful of is, all right, saying why can't we get them players as how they were when we see them now? But when they came through the door at Brighton, no one knew about them. So we started buying. Yeah. We were like, oh fucking hell, why are we buying these players? Danny Rose is right. We Google all these players because you never heard of them.
Yeah.
We as fans going to be prepared to say, right, you can get these unknown talents.
Pete, doesn't that come down to trust? I think half the problem. Hang on, half the problem is now. I'm looking at the players that Paratici's brought into this club since he's been here, and again, I take your point, Sean. Is it Paratici? Is it Leave It? All of that kind of stuff. But I look at, okay, he went and got Brian Hill. Look how that's turned out. Yeah, he went and got Emerson Royal, and I don't care. He had one good game last week, right? Look at Galini, right? That's
my point. So there's no trust. There's no trust in doing it.
I get that. Hang on, mate. Hang on. That's not my point. My point is, if we got in a director of football and the club agree that this is going to be our ethos moving forward, I think then fans would have a little bit more trust in saying, okay, we understand why you've bought that player now. We understand why you're bringing that person in. They're the natural successor to.
And success breeds trust as well, though, like Savo. I think to Pete's point and to your point, right? Like, I think fans, and I understand the fans who go, like, I ain't getting behind this signing. because I remember the last 7 that didn't work out.
Yeah,
And if they get a couple, if they go and sign a couple of young players and they do come through, then the next time we go and sign an 18, 19-year-old and spend 2 or 3 million on them, maybe more of the fan base would be like, all right, I'll be patient with that one because I remember such and such working out. Because we haven't got a track record of that.
No,
there's no
at
trust.
the moment, if we did that, it would be like, oh, this is another NG, this is another Nkudu, because these players are relatively cheap when they buy them as well. So it'd be Levy this, Levy that, and then the whole thing. We won't be patient as fans, and we have no trust with who is there at the moment. For me, if you're looking at Paratici, he's like trusting Rodney Trotter after he's bought the broken lawnmower engines. Yeah, go and buy me some gear, mate.
That's a brilliant analogy.
That's what it's like. You think,
you're right.
For me,
you're right. I mean, at Brighton at the moment, they can, they can turn around and say, okay, yeah, look, we've let Trossard go, but that's because this next guy coming through the ranks is exactly what Trossard is or is the natural successor. And I think the Brighton fans will go, well, yeah, we've seen a long line of these come in now. We get it. For me, I've said this a long time, right? Top 4 clouds everyone's judgment for me. If somebody turned around and said, we're going to have 5 years now, you're not going to play Champions League football, but in that 5 years, we're going to build and we're going to build together an ethos, a strategy, a plan, right? Okay, we won't have Champions League football, but okay, you're going to lose Son and you're going to lose Kane and Romero, but in the background, for the greater good, the short-term pain for the long-term gain, I'm down with that. I'm not a fan, me personally, guys. Everyone talks about Champions League football like it's this holy grail. We're shit when we play in it. It's not. Yeah. I don't know about you. I'm not looking forward to Milan on Tuesday night. It doesn't. I don't sit there. It's not like a Harry Redknapp team going out and playing in the Champions League where you think we're going to attack. We're going to go at them. We're going to be involved in a ding dong game.
Yeah, but Sabra, I think the point is, mate, is that if you are a football club that can only generate the funds that you can to compete through the revenue streams of the club, which is what our owners have made clear they want to do, and we have fuck all success generating youth through the development, and we have no track record of buying super cheap and raising them up, then we need that Champions League because it's going to provide 50 to 60, 70 million quid a year, which
will never
is the budget.
Outside of Europe, he will never accept.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? Because we just have so many failures in so many other little in the divisions where other teams, smaller teams, can and have proven to be able to move up to the next level. Brentford, Brighton, Leicester. To Leicester's credit, to Alex, I'm sure Alex wants me to say that, but like all those teams that weren't getting any money from Europe, they were generating their talent, buying young players, building them up, selling them on. That's how they were kind of going through their life cycle. If Tottenham are no good at doing any of that stuff, and Tottenham aren't going to get sugar daddy cash injections, then the only budget that we're going to get to be able to spend on the players that we do need is through European qualification. And so whilst I'm with you that Champions League football is generally disappointing when we watch it, and it's not the kind of be all and end all in terms of like the way to generate money through our current owners, it's an essential part of the revenue stream.
That's their plan. It's a core part of their fundraising for this club, for everything. So
I agree with you. Just quickly, I've got a super chat, and also I'm going to read this comment. Big up, Danny. I'll bring you and Alex in just after these comments. SOF has said Paratici also brought in Romero, Kulu, and Bentancur. You can't just point to the bad players. SOF, my point is this: he's signed 17 players to date. 17. If the sample size you're giving me is free of worked, then I'm quite comfortable in my original analysis that this guy brings in more crap than he does good. So I'm sorry, that's all I'll say on that. And super chat wise, Tim Man is back again with another one. Thank you very much appreciated. He said, guys, Conte is not a right fit for our club. However, name me a manager that is and will work with leaving his policy. We'll have the same conversation when they fail under this ownership. Fed up. Tim Man is right, guys. Alex, let me bring you in here, then I'll come to Danny. Tim Man is right. Whoever comes in next will fail as well. For me, Alex, I think this is just me. This is just Richard Sava, no one else. My opinion on this is having a Conte at the club, though, raises fans' expectations so high that it doesn't actually match what we're doing in the transfer market, if you know what I mean. Whereas I think if you've got a lesser manager, at least you're all sitting there going, Yeah, cool. I'm not expecting to win. Could there be anything in that?
Well, I said it earlier. The fact that we got Conte in the building risen expectations. I mean, I'm going to get straight into the question. It's going to be a short answer because I've already said on my channel already. If you don't know, get to know NXT HFC if you really want to know. I've already gave you a name of what I want. I've told you it's Pochettino. I've gave my reasons why. It's not because I'm enamored with Pochettino. No, I'm not. I'm not enamored with him at all. I said you want free-flowing attacking football. You want quick football. There's your man. And then you research on managers like Brighton's done, like a Pochettino, right? That does the same thing. And then when it goes stale, you bring him in, you hit that person and you get him straight in. Like the fact that when we didn't do it in November, when we sacked him, we did research on managers and go for Nagelsmann, who was the guy that we should have gone for, or a Rodgers that we should have gone for. You know what I mean? I'm not listening to people that want De Zerbi because I'm sorry, no one knew about De Zerbi. He needs more time in the Premier League. I'm sorry. It's again the gift that keeps on giving
Alex,
Tottenham fans.
So when you say no one knew about De Zerbi, do you mean people that only watch the Premier League?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. There's a huge difference between no one knew about him and nobody watches any other football.
Savvy, you get what I'm saying though. You get a little bit of a point what I'm trying to say at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Because when you watch a manager, I'm not saying that, you know, at the time, you know, looking at it right now, I'm saying, you know, he doesn't look good. But at the end of the day, the guy needs time. You know what I mean? He's looking good at the moment, but I think someone made a great point, Pete. I think it was Pete that made the point. He needs the backing of what Brighton are doing at the moment, the backup, the support that Brighton are giving at the moment. Do you see that at Tottenham? No, it's not. Like I said, it needs a refresh, reset, and restart. Like I've done on my channel. You know what I mean? Because you have to refresh things, don't you? You need to look over things. That's it. The only problem is, and Sean won't like it because he backs him too much. We've got Daniel Levy as our chairman, and he's failed every single time.
When you say I back him, what do you mean?
Oh, well, you defend him, don't you? You defend him, don't you?
I defend him against unreasonable, irrational, illogical, one-sided, unipolar arguments. 100%. He doesn't get a fair shake from 90%.
But Sean, I just need to wake you up a little bit. How many trophies have we won, bro? How many trophies have we won? Zero.
I can't even.
You can't do it because it ruins your argument straight away, bro.
It doesn't ruin the argument straight away.
It ruins your argument straight away, bro.
The argument straight away, mate.
It's like me.
I got layers, mate. I got layers to my argument.
I'm not married yet, Bob. So what does that mean, Bob? Does that mean I'm getting anywhere, Bob? Am I a millionaire, Bob? Am I a millionaire, Bob? Am I a millionaire yet? No, I'm not a millionaire, am I? You know what I mean? Come on now. You know what I mean? It's honestly, that makes sense.
Get back to the point. When you say that I defend Daniel Levy all the time, well, I actually call him out all the time for all of the things that I see that he has failed as a chairman. I also defend him for the things that I think he does incredibly well as a chairman. But when you are in an effort to try and be balanced, what I like to do in my content is to have balance. I like to be able to say, there's this side of the argument, there's this side of the argument. Here's all the facts and figures. Here's all the stuff. Here's where I here's where I personally land on it. But what do you think? I don't try and tell anyone how to think. I just ask them what they think about it. But when 90% of content creators out there only talk about one side of the argument, in the effort to try and be balanced, I naturally have to spend more of my time reminding people of the other thing, because all of the other stuff has already been spoken about infinitely on repeat, loop every fucking day, to the point where you can go onto some channels and it doesn't matter what day of the week it is, you can press a fucking play button and it could have been the same show from yesterday or last week or last month or last year all the way back, because there's nothing new about that story. I like to bring balance, but because of the imbalance of the rest of people in the community, I have to come across this way a little bit. But actually, I'm very happy to acknowledge all of the shit show that Daniel Levy has provided for Tottenham Hotspur. But there's a lot of good with the bad. It's just not spoken about as much. So don't say I defend Daniel Levy. Don't say I defend Daniel Levy.
I can't believe
provide a
I
balanced
must have got it so wrong. I must have got so wrong. Like, all these years as a Tottenham fan, I didn't realise that the finances was such a big deal. I didn't realise being in a hotel was so much really good at the moment. I didn't
so there
realise
you go, right? So
the
there you
fact
go.
that I didn't realise that.
There is a perfect
I didn't realise as
example.
a child. I
That
didn't
is a
realise as a
perfect
child I need
example
to
of
be
a
happy about being in
redundant
Champions League.
argument.
I
You
didn't
do
realise
realise that not a
no,
single penny.
Guys, one at a time, please. Like I can't understand
What are you
either of
talking
you.
nonsense, mate?
I didn't
People
realise.
that talk about hotels and cinema chains and golf courses, and they use that as a stick to beat Daniel Levy with. Look at the results. Show me one set of Tottenham Hotspur financial results that ever mentions a fucking golf course or a fucking cinema or popcorn sales or how many people used the driving range or how many flats were ever sold or who rented what. None of that shit has ever been paid for from a single penny of any season ticket or any beer that has ever been bought by any Tottenham fan. All of that shit is off. No, it hasn't, Danny. No, it hasn't, bro. It never has. You'll never see it on an account.
How long is this going on for, bruv? I need my time, bruv.
Hang on. One at a time. Danny, welcome. How are you? You good?
I'm good, but my internet's as diabolical as Tottenham's defence last night.
Don't worry. Yeah, listen to this.
Let me have a go. Let me have a go back. He had about 25 minutes to speak, bruv. My gosh, I was giving him 25 minutes.
Alex, I get the feeling this is going to be double penetration between you and Danny to Sean. So let me let Danny have a chat.
I'll let my boy Danny.
Danny, take it away. What's all your thoughts on this? I don't know how we got onto this subject, but we're there. We're there now, right? I was trying to steer away from this, but Danny, what do you think?
Yeah. Oh, well, look, we can steer away from it if you want. Don't mind. I mean, to you guys yesterday, I'm at the point now where I literally couldn't care less what happens to the club. I'm with Perchy on this. I really don't care. I'm with Kuva on this. It doesn't really matter who comes in. Conte stays, Conte goes. It really doesn't matter. It's not going to change. The fans don't seem to care enough for change, and I understand that. People work, people have lives, and all this kind of stuff, right?
Oh yeah, you're struggling.
But
a little bit,
look, it's always going to be this now.
Yeah, let me ask you a question, Danny.
Oh, okay, sorry, man. Yeah, this fucking internet over here is disgraceful.
No worries. Let me ask you a question.
Go on, Sav.
I'm just interested in this. I mean, when you're saying people don't care enough for change, I think, look, I always kind of fall on the side of the fence of, listen, I'd love to see some change. I can only do what I do, which is I won't put my money into the club anymore. That's only my way. By the way, I'm not saying there is one way to do it. I don't believe there is. I believe it's whatever is right for the individual fan. But the thing for me is I genuinely can't see, as I sit here, as somebody who doesn't want Enoch and Levy here, I genuinely can't see that there's anything that gets them out other than a couple of businessmen turning up, businessmen or businesswomen turning up with the magic number. Now, whatever that magic number is, whether it's 4 billion, 5 billion, 7 billion, that's my only thing. I don't think Enoch, let's be fair, Daniel Levy has done everything that they've asked of him, right? He's built them a cash cow. He's built them something that prints money, right? Why would they now get up and go because some fans are upset? That's my only thing. I just genuinely don't see it happening, Danny. Not that I don't want it to happen. I just don't see it.
And that's the thing, Sean. I don't see it either. I don't see it happening. Like you said, I think unless there's only two ways I think it happens, right? Number one, the fans get so angry with the way that things are being, how it's being run, how the club's being run, where everyone has the same opinion of the owners, right? And what I mean by that, I mean, say, for example, if Tottenham were in a relegation fight, like what Everton are kind of in at the moment, right? If they were really, really down and out and they're still running the club the same way, I think then the fans might think, do you know what, enough's enough, right? But if that doesn't happen, then, which I don't think...
on Henry's show, right? You said that yesterday. You wanted the club to capitulate. You wanted everything to collapse so that the fans like me the idiot fans like me would wake up and get on board it, is what you said. Something like that. You didn't mention my name, but people like me who choose to look at it a different way, right? You said you wanted the club to fail so that you would expedite the timeline for people to wake up.
What I said was this, and I basically said this, not in that exact words, but I basically said that I feel that the fans are only ever going to be united is if the has a capitulation, and I don't care if that happens, right? Because I don't care what happens with the club right now, because nothing is going to change of how the club is run, right? And if that's the case, right, then it doesn't matter if we bring in like I was saying to Sava and you guys in the chat yesterday night. And I basically said that if Conte was to leave, okay, fine, whatever. If he gets sacked, he leaves, whatever, right? But I won't be Conte out. I never will be Conte out, because I know what I believe he stands for, right? But if we're talking about obviously the football and all that kind of stuff, then the only man I want to come into this club is someone like Gallardo, right, who managed River Plate. He is the epitome of what Daniel Levy wants in a manager. Someone who coaches youngsters, right? Someone who maximizes of the players he's got and changes formations and tactics based on who he's playing, right? And the word that he actually uses is we create formulas, right, for different situations. That's what he does, right? And on top of that, he's an unknown, so he'll be cheap to bring in, right? He's not proven in any of Europe's top 5 leagues. So you go and bring someone like that in and he does well, it's going to look like a masterstroke, right? And he also plays expansive football. So he is the epitome of what Daniel Levy, I think, wants at this club, right? Like to build a project from the youth, completely get rid of Harry Kane, get rid of Son, get rid of them all. I think that's what's going to happen if that someone like that comes in, or the sporting guy. What's his name? Whatever his name is, I can't remember his name. Almiron, whatever his name was. Yeah, him. Right. They're the only 2 managers I can see keeping maybe the fan base happy to the point where we might play better football. We might not do as well, but we'll play better football. I mean, we don't know what will happen, right? But it's gonna be a 6-7 year project, no matter what, if they go for a manager like that, because they're going to have to sell Kane, because Kane ain't staying around, and maybe even players like Kulu and Romero probably won't stay around either. So I think if that's what's going to happen, and I just don't personally, I don't think some of the fans anyway have got the patience to wait around for this. I don't think the fans have got the patience.
What does that mean? What does that mean? You think they're going to give up supporting Tottenham?
No. I just think they're just going to moan and nothing will happen. They won't. No one will actually want to do anything about it. And what I mean by that, Sean, is like, for example, I don't think Daniel Levy will have the patience for it either, because I can't see Daniel Levy like allowing Tottenham to finish 8th and 7th and 6th consecutively just to try and build a project. Because as soon as he sees that top 4 out of reach, he sacks a manager every single time. So I don't believe the chairman, right? Even though he says all these things, in my opinion, I think everything. But what I'm saying is, he's talking about wanting to have a manager that's going to be there for 10 years. But in order to do that, you've got to go through the absolute mud, right, for years to build a dynasty. If you want to do that, right? No manager can instantly come in and start hitting top 4, right? If you want to build a young team like who's going to try and enter for trophies or honours or whatever it is, right? And I just can't see Daniel Levy giving a manager 3 years and finishing 8th or 7th. Can you guys honestly?
I agree with you, mate. I agree with you, right? And people call me a flip-flop, but I'm not. I'm very consistent. I'll say this again. I think Daniel Levy has taken us as far as he can go, absent a massive reorganization of FFP or the new sustainability models, where the line gets pulled back and certain teams get naturally crossed as a consequence. And if that whole thing happens, which I don't think it actually will in reality shake out the way it's being presented to, but I'd like to see a bit of a movement towards that. Right. Then I think in that new world where FFP, where there's no cash injections available, there's no ability for sugar daddies to come in and just fucking buy the success, which is what all of the European teams are pushing for to happen to the Premier League, which is what the Super League is proposing. One of the tenets of the Super League is to have no ability to have cash injections. right? Which means that you have to live within your means. Everything the club can generate is where you can spend your money. And if that was ever to emerge, if all of the European teams were to get together and bully the Premier League into a system where they all joined, then Daniel Levy in it would be the right chairman for Tottenham Hotspur for in that world. In a world where it doesn't happen, I still stand by it. I'm very happy for Daniel Levy to move on. I will never look back and think of his tenure with resentment and think that he's been a shit show or any of those things. I'll acknowledge all of the mistakes he's made. I also think he's done a lot of good things. I don't share any of the resentment that other people do, but I'll acknowledge the problems. However, I do think that if the sustainability things do not come in quick enough, then Daniel Levy has likely taken the club as far as he can with the very imminent arrival of the Emir of Qatar coming to Manchester United. And then by, I think it's February the 21st or something like that, everybody that wants to put a bid in for Manchester United, and we'll see who they are. It might be 5 consortiums, it might be 50. But only one of those will get Manchester United. And if there's, say, 10 names that are putting in bids, the other 9 are prepared to buy a football club. So maybe Daniel Levy gets hold of that list, picks up the phone, and Sava, we were talking about this on the WhatsApp group earlier. I said it already. I looked into the accounts, and that 150 million quid that diluted the other share ownership by 2%, when I said it at the time, I was like, holy shit, Tottenham are actually valuing their own shares at 7 billion. Doesn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense then. And then when I look into the accounts, as far as I can figure it out, it's incredibly complex. But the ordinary shares and all that stuff, it looks like there's a gradual dilution of that 150 million towards 5% is what they're actually going to end up with as an increased ownership, which basically values the club at 3 billion. So if someone does want to come in, they can buy the club for 3 billion, pay off the debt of 800 million. So for 4 billion quid, they can have Tottenham and they can come in, and before the sustainability rules come in, they can come in and jam the club with money, which is what all of you lot want. It's not something that I personally think is the right way to find success, buying success rather than earning it. But I think there's a middle ground, and maybe that minority ownership where someone can come in and buy 25% like the QSI group, maybe there's a middle ground. I do think that Daniel Levy's done a good job generally. I think he's fucked up in a lot of ways, but I think that maybe the time, unless the sustainability rules change, I think that maybe the time for him to move on is now. And I think when the Man United bids come in, all but one of those will be fails, and maybe one of those might look at Tottenham Hotspur later on this year.
The thing is, UEFA are not all this. Daniel Levy's hung his hat on sustainability rules before when FFP first came out. That's going to be a game changer, and we're best set up to compete in that when that market changes. It doesn't change. UEFA will do nothing to any club that will hinder the Champions League. They won't do it. They've not got the teeth for it. That's their main revenue driver. They will not do it. But against sugar daddies, to be honest, I'm not against it. I'll tell you why. Because for some, there is now and again a small club, like a really small club, that gets people in who invest in that club, and that club can then dare to dream. Yeah. So I think by taking that away, I think you rule that out forever for certain small clubs that might want to dream one day. Like Newcastle, why shouldn't they have a go? Yeah. If someone wants to put money in their club, what's the problem? Yeah. But it is what it is. It's what football's about. It's about dreaming. Otherwise, it'll always be the same clubs at the top and the same clubs at the bottom, and it will never change. Like as it is in other leagues, we see pretty often, because the way they distribute their money, like the top teams take most of the money, and then the rest of them sort of just can get what they crap out for the rest. And a lot of leagues, because they do it individually.
Do you support Manchester City's success as much as you did? Like an Arsenal who did it organic. I know Arsenal are the enemy, but you got to have a level of respect for the way that they did it in the 90s and noughties, right? Whereas Man City came along and just did fuck all. They didn't earn it. They went from a Division 1 club to a Championship winning, a Premier League winning club in the space of 10 years.
Yeah, but they got promotion back. They earned that. And then if people want to put money in them, so be it. Yeah.
But do you, as a Tottenham fan, respect Manchester City's success as much as you do another club that did it organically? I'm just asking. Doesn't bother you. It bothers me.
You can't just put money in all the time and it guarantees success. You've got to make the right choices, get the right people in to manage that money for you. Because Everton tried doing that and it backfired. Yeah. Other clubs have tried it and it's backfired. So they're not the first ones to try it. But at the end of the day, what they did at City, they've come in, they've not just done the football team, they've done the area, they've done the academy, so they've done it properly. And you've got to say fair enough. And the Premier League is better for having them there. You can't deny that. The football they play, the players
not competitively, it's not better.
no, but they
It's
don't
not
win it
better
every year.
competitively.
They don't win it
Manchester City and Chelsea have won 45% of all of the domestic trophies that were available to be won since Daniel Levy took over. 67 trophies since 2001 could have been won domestically. Man City and Chelsea, who are the two best examples of sugar daddies, have won 45% of all the trophies.
Sean, who won it before them two? Man United and Arsenal.
Yeah, but they didn't do it through sugar daddy ownership. They did it through organic growth.
But sugar daddies allow clubs like Man City. Before that, Man City would never dare to dream of winning the Premier League because the way the way them clubs have been in it for years, like Man United, because the way they work the stadium and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, because what you're saying, they won't allow a team to build a new stadium to generate more revenue because it's not within their means. So you have to give these smaller clubs the chance to dream. Do you know what I mean? Because I wouldn't care. I don't care.
For me, it doesn't. It's not even a question of having to have a sugar daddy. I think we could have done a lot better with the resources we do have.
Exactly.
I'll look at the scouting network in particular. We keep talking about it needed an overhaul, said Paratici and Conte. But we also heard that said from Paul Mitchell about 8-9 years ago. Nothing, and yet that was an overhaul that didn't happen. Paul Mitchell put out on gardening leave, and then current day still needs an overhaul. Do you remember hearing how many scouts we have employed at the club? I think somebody said something like 6.
There's
Yeah.
6.
Do you know how many Porto have?
How many?
60.
Have a guess.
65.
More.
What's the question?
95.
250.
What?
No, they're not all full time. That'd be madness.
Yeah,
240 what? Scouts.
But they're networked. Some of them are sort of independent, but have an association with the club. They just got this massive spread of the scouting.
Where are you seeing? Where did you find that information?
There was an article on it many years back, about 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah, okay. So I was hoping you weren't going to say transfer market because I saw someone on Twitter was saying Tottenham only have 4 scouts.
Yeah, but they're going to have contacts within, other things. There was one of the things that was in the article was the rumor about the signing of like Paulinho for us, and it was the case of the club went to an agency to say these are the sort of statistics I'm looking for on a player. These are the attributes, and the agency put forward the name. Now they did say they couldn't verify if that was true or not, but it did sort of tie in with what was the sort of transfer business we were doing at the time, like sell Bale, come in with all these 7 new players in. A lot of them is like, well, where did that come from, sort of thing. But the point was, we seem to be on a very, very limited scouting network. You look at Porto; they are a conveyor belt of talent coming through. Always have been for decades now.
Benfica are the best example from Portugal.
Yeah,
Benfica are insane.
Same thing. But the point was, why can't we just adopt that policy with our spending power compared to theirs? We should be doing a hell of a lot better than we are.
I think there's a couple of reasons why on that one, mate. I think first and foremost, Portugal got access to certain areas of the world through European, through parent, grandparent ownerships, like passport things, which allow them to get a lot of South American players. And I also think that Tottenham, whilst they're a big club in the Premier League, we compete with so many southern. Like if you're just looking at the English talent coming up. And listen, this is my opinion, not my. Like, I'm not saying this is fact, but it's just my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts, whether it's right or wrong, in your opinion. But in the South, like if you're a parent who's got a 13-year-old kid who's doing bits in football, and you live in somewhere in the South, right? And you're going to look at and you get options to go and join Fulham or Chelsea or Tottenham or Arsenal, whatever else, and you're going to look at the relevant successes of all the clubs in terms of generating talent, churning talent, loaning them out, seeing what happens and the careers that have generated. You're probably going to give your kid over to Chelsea before you're going to give it over to Tottenham. Whereas if you're from the north, if you're from Burnley or anywhere in like the northeast or northwest, you're probably going to get picked off by just a couple of clubs: Liverpool, Manchester United, maybe Manchester City. If you don't want to have to disrupt and unsettle your kid, take him out of school or whatever, however that whole system works, and move down south to join Tottenham, you're probably going to hang around. And so I feel like that the geography of the UK and the relevant successes of other teams in that local area are probably having an impact on it as well.
I think we're too much like a finance club. I'm sorry. The main event just wants to speak something. He needs to make himself known now. I'm sorry. After having that long conversation, just that long monologue from Sean, and the sense that comes from Kuva. I love you, Kuva, mate. Honestly, you're the best thing on YouTube. I've got to be honest. The point is, we have got no priorities. You have this conversation with Manchester United. You have this conversation with Liverpool. Do you have this conversation with Chelsea? Do you have this conversation with Leicester City? Leicester City, Brighton. They'll laugh in your face. You laugh in your face. Our priorities are just not on this club at all. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? It's not about the football.
What point are you making,
This should
bro?
be about the football. About looking at how to develop this club to be the top club. Using the resources, like what Kuva said, use the resources that you've got to get the best out of your resources. And we've not done
What
it.
is that, mate?
And that's
You're making grandiose
it's failed.
statements,
No,
but
it's not
giving no
failed.
detail.
No, random. I'm not random at all. I'm saying I'm making the point that
grandiose statements, not random.
no, I'm not.
Grandiose
I'm not
statements.
making grandiose statements. It's that we are talking about well, we're so good in the finances. We've got this. We've got that. We've got this. Well, the football club. If it was a finance company, yeah, that's great. But as a football club, we have failed. We have failed. Yes, because we have not used the resources we have got to make the best of it. Whether we've got no money or not, think of creatively to make the best of your resources, like Brighton have done, like Leicester have done. They have great examples of getting the best out of the club, and then we would have been in a better position with managers and with players and with scouting networks. But we have completely and utterly failed. And the fact that we keep on talking about our finances and our beautiful young, great stadium, which I do appreciate because I'm the only reason why I can go to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. That's why we are in the mud at the moment. And that's all I need to say. And I'll give it back to Sava because Sava needs to say something.
That's nice to do, isn't it? That's nice to do.
Running the show.
I think it's difficult, right? Can I just say, I do feel that, and whichever side of the fence people fall on, I do feel like it's good to have the conversations when they're sensible, right? And I do feel that everyone wants what's best for the club, and there's always going to be different ways of thinking what that is. I mean, look, even the fact that you've got lots of people who are all Levy out, but they all can't agree on what's the right way to protest, what's the right way to get Levy out, etc. Right? Tells you that there isn't one answer, right? I just feel that at some point, I feel we need to go back. I feel we need to get that love back for being a football club. Do you know what I mean? I feel like we need to look. The Levy in, Levy out debate for me. Listen, I was vocal in it for years. I'm now at the point where it's like I feel like it's killing all that we do as a fan base. I feel like 100%. It's dividing everybody so much to the point where it's the same conversation over and over and over again. And the people who think this on the left are never going to agree with the people that think this on the right because it all gets very vitriolic, right? So for me, I like the idea of talking football. And that's what I think we should all do. So whether or not people like what Sean's saying, whether people like what Alex is saying, or it shouldn't matter. We should all respect it either way. Sorry, I just wanted to say that because just seeing some comments in the chat that if you think differently to someone else, you need to have a go at them.
Listen, I think Sean makes some valid points. At the end of the day, he presents a different argument, and I think if you're just going to listen to people who talk the same as you, you'll never learn anything or consider anything else. You can't just stick to echo chambers all the time. That is part of the problem with the fans at the moment, is that there's so many in one trench and they won't hear any other argument or listen to any sort of reason that they'll go, no, I'm not, leave you out, and that's all they want to know. But you have to actually, if you're going to get anywhere, and we got to think about it and okay, let's look at it objectively. And I think that's what Sean is trying to do, is bring that. Sean might be like the financial side of it a bit more than most, but in day that's he might do that I think he does that for a living. He's into all that, so it's sort of that will tick his box a bit. But it's always good to have difference of opinion. As long as it's what I give Sean credit for, he does back it up with some facts. They don't just say, I think the owners are good, and that's it. Whereas we get a lot of, well, this needs to happen, and nothing, and there's no sort of meat attached to it. Do you know what I mean?
I just want to say, Tom, I disagree with. I do disagree with this statement when you say it's not what Enoch want. I don't think it is. I think that there's ways to have the conversation. I think there's ways to have it. But as I've said here, I can't say this anymore, and we are going to finish the show in 4 minutes, guys. But I can't say this anymore. At the end of the day, for me, I am Enoch and Levy out. But I'm also, as I keep saying, old enough and ugly enough to know that we're not playing Monopoly, right? That this is the real world and that these guys own a £4 to £5 billion company in Tottenham Hotspur. So that's the only thing I'm saying is I'd love to know, and I want the conversation like peacefully. I want it nicely, but what is the grand idea for Levy to go? That's the only thing I asked the question, and I haven't had an answer yet that makes me think, yeah, I want to jump on that bandwagon. It's not that I don't want them out; it's that I need to hear a plan that gets them out. Does that make sense?
There is nothing we can do as fans to get rid of them. That is a fact. That's a cold hard fact. No matter what, even if you're a United fan base and all that, yeah, sounds great on paper, but what is it going to do? It is not going to do nothing. And that United fan base can have a whip round and still not have enough money to buy them out. Do you know what I mean? So there's no mechanism for us as fans to go, right, we can get rid of you. So that sort of pie in the sky thought needs to be parked. And then that's when what we were saying last week, bring the conversation into the middle ground a bit more, be a bit more rational with it. And then might get them up, instead of trying to get them out, try and get them to change. Yeah, change.
I think that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying about you, because at the end of the day, right, whatever Sean thinks, right, I'm having a go. I'm targeting him at the moment. But firstly, because he gives me fuel, and I love him because he gives me fuel.
Are you targeting me?
Yeah, to debate you. Yeah, I love him as a person. I love him as a person. But you
still waiting for that point you're making, mate. Still waiting for that point.
But my point is that I totally agree with what everyone's saying here. I get fed up with talking about Levy as well because he ain't going, he ain't leaving. But I ain't gonna let him go. I'm not gonna let him get away with what he's done at the moment because, as I said, he killed my interest in Tottenham. And the guy that you're seeing right now, after Pochettino got sacked, because I had enough after Martin Yole, I had enough after Harry Redknapp, and it was especially after Pochettino because I knew it was not going to work with Mourinho. And after that, I had enough, and that's when I had his car marked, and that was it. But I know he's not leaving; it's not going to happen. But I do think he has to be a culpable for the things that happen at other clubs, and as far as I'm concerned, we've been in the Premier League too long that we can't do that, what Brighton have done and what Newcastle have done and what Leicester have done. I think that's no excuse for that.
I agree. But all we can do is talk about it. It doesn't affect him. Yeah, we can't discipline him. We can't do anything that has any impact on the geezer whatsoever. Yeah, people saying, oh, we can get him to resign. You can't get him to resign. He is the owner of the club, part owner of the club. If he stepped back, if he resigned, there will be another layer in front of him, a chief executive that answers to him anyway. So he doesn't go anywhere until.
I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying
out, but they ain't going. But I agree. There has been periods in the recent history where I felt a good connection with the club. Yeah, sometime a bit under Yole, Redknapp, and Poch. So it is obtainable, and we didn't win anything when we done it. Yeah, but we felt that connection. Yeah, there was a period.
Starts with good football, right, Pete?
Yeah, exactly. It starts with football and it goes from there. But then it's collapsed. That connection collapsed every time because then Daniel Levy does manage to screw it up with decisions he makes that impacts the football, which is why you ideally like to have a bit more someone football savvy in there, or Daniel Levy just got to trust these people to make the right, like the managers, and go, right, get them what they want when they want it. Yeah, I'm not saying bow down and throw £500 million checks and all that sort of stuff, but there's been periods where managers have not asked a lot really, and they've not got it. So he has to learn from those mistakes. That connection,
can be 100%.
Yeah, but it all depends if you get the right manager in. Yeah, that wins the fans over, and that's where his next move is, and that's why I still think he'll go back to Pochettino. It's not a restart. All that is, it's like when you, as I said before, when you're playing a computer game, you don't like what's happening. Right, I'll go back to my last save. Do you know what I mean? And start again from there. So that's where from Pochettino and try and start that again.
Guys, listen. I do need to end the show, but listen, I'm sure we'll be having more conversations next week when we would have played AC Milan and we would have also played West Ham, I believe, by the time we meet next week. So what could possibly go wrong with those two fixtures? But listen, Sean, thank you for coming on. Really good chat as always. Pete, pick yourself up. Kuva, as always.
I've got the out of that Eric Dyer midfield. I ain't going to get over that.
Okay, mate. You do that. Kuva, the best thing on YouTube you've been called. This is brilliant stuff.
Hey, the man has taste.
And Alex,
you can't explain what taste is, but he's got taste.
No, it's fine.
Big up as always.
Appreciate Seba.
Everybody in the chat, please smash the like button before you leave. Please, thank you for the 8 people that are subscribed while being on the show. If we can get another 3 or 4 people to pop over, press the subscribe button, I'd be really grateful. And please jump over to Henry Wright Show and watch the Spurs Corner. They're probably starting now-ish, I would guess. So please do that. Much love. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you to everyone. And we will see you during the week. Take care, everybody.
See you later.